So Bride of Re-Animator is the sequel to the cult classic Reanimator, and it's directed by Brian Usner, and it continues the grotesque and kind of darkly comedic story of Herbert West, aka my boy Jeffrey Combs, and Dan Kane, who's played by Bruce Abbott once again, as they dive deeper into their unethical, weird, and kind of terrifying experiments. This time, their obsession leads them to attempting to create new life, which, well, doesn't go very well, so let's get into it. The film begins 8 months after the original, where Dr. Herbert West and Dr. Dan Kane are now serving as medics in the Civil War in a country in South America, and West continues his experiments testing, his reagent on different soldiers, mainly the dead ones. And Dan is, well, he's a normal one, so he's like, this is kind of weird, bro, we shouldn't be doing this, it's kind of unethical. But, it's Dan, so he comes around. Then an explosion happens, and they realise this probably isn't the best place to be while we're doing our experiments. So they go back to Catholic University in Arkham. Once they're there, they resume their experiments in the basement of their house. By the way, I love the houses in this movie. They're so gothic and creepy and cool. It's really interesting and different from the first movie. I like it. And yeah, so West actually reveals that he nicked Megan's heart, which, if you don't know who Megan is, it's Dan's ex-fiancée who died in the first movie. So yeah, he's got her heart, which he is going to use to create a bride for Dan, which is going to be amazing, I'm sure. Meanwhile, though, Dr. Graves, who is working at the Miskatonic Hospital as well, becomes fascinated by West's reagent after he finds some at the crime scenes of, the first movie. And after he discovers a lot of West's research, he begins to, inject a few different things with it. He begins with a bat, then a decapitated head of Dr. Hill from the first movie, yeah. It's weird. And I really don't understand this, dude, to be fair. Like, once, you see what it does, I wouldn't really use it that much, because I'd save that. I wouldn't shove it into a decapitated head. You probably couldn't do much, but it's Dr. Hill, so it does a lot of things, to be fair. But yeah, so he comes back to life, and Hill once again becomes a force for evil, because, well, that's just who he is. And he uses, this telepathic thing in his mind to control all the other reanimated corpses and help him go attack West. So, as West is working on assembling the bride, Dan grows increasingly attached to another young woman who he met. And, well, as usual, they get it on. And then she's like, wait a minute, you're working with this guy to bring back the dead. That's kind of creepy, bro. I'ma just leave. But before she leaves, they finally complete the bride, and it is a grotesque amalgamation of body parts harvested from different corpses, and of course Meg's heart. But they're missing a head, so where did they get the head from? Oh, but of course, a dying cancer patient in the hospital. I mean, where else are you going to find a perfectly good head? The answer just comes out of nowhere. But yeah, so they successfully create the bride, and it comes to life in a very cool display of practical effects. I love the effects in these movies. Sure, these movies aren't the best. They aren't anywhere near good. Maybe the first one, but this one isn't anywhere near good, but it's goofy as all hell, and the effects are amazing, so I've got to give them props where props are due. Get it? Props? Practical effects, yeah? But yeah, so, the bride is alive, at last. And she becomes close with Dan, because of course it's Megan's heart, so it kind of feels a little bond to him, and she's like, he made me. And then Dan's just like, yeah, I did. But yeah, so the final act spirals into complete madness as Dr. Hill and his army of reanimated corpses storm West and Kane's laboratory. And a brutal battle ensues where all the corpses fight, West and Kane, and the bride's just off doing her own thing. Francesca becomes entangled in all the randomness. You know, it's like the ending of the first movie. And the bride dies, and so does everyone else, in a tragic thing where, like, the building completely falls down on all of them, supposedly killing Wes again, but, I mean, we all know there's a third one. Am I gonna talk about it? Sadly, yes. I really don't want to talk about the third one, to be fair. I really hate it, but it does show Hill's head alive again, and it shows that Kane and Francesca both alive, but that storyline goes utterly nowhere. I would prefer them continue that rather than just going some random place with the third movie where they filmed it in like a Valencian prison. Like, you know, sure, when I lived in Spain I could have probably gone and visited the filming location for that movie, but like, will I really want to visit the filming location for Beyond Reanimator? Probably not. But yeah, so Bride of Re-Animator, it definitely contains the charm of the first movie while also carving out its own little thing in this franchise. It's more comedic and campy than the first movie, but the effects are so good. Like, it's able to just show so many cool effects, from this little hand thing to Hill to all the corpses to the bride herself, which is absolutely amazingly done. Like, the amount of different effects people that worked on this movie, I think the effects list at the beginning in the opening credits goes on longer than most of the other parts of the opening credits. Yeah, like, the special effects are definitely the highlight. It showcases some really innovative and grotesque practical effects. It's got some great techniques. And yeah, Jeffrey Combs, once again, he delivers a stand-up performance as West. He leans even further into the character's just absolute idiocy and brilliance. And yes, I think he is an idiot because, well, I mean, he's trying to mess with the dead. I wouldn't do that, you know? I have a brain, which I'd probably lose if I was around West, because he'd probably, one, murder me for parts, or two, trick me into being his lackey, and then I'd probably die or something. But yeah, you know, the film definitely can feel uneven at times, though. The plot occasionally just veers into absolute stupidity, which I'll admit I enjoyed, you know. I like a good dumb movie, but at some points you want to ask yourself, is it a bit too much? And the love story between Dan, the bride, the other chick in this movie, it was a bit janky for me. Like, I didn't need all of that. Firstly, Dan, my man, why do you want to get jiggy with a dead body, if you know what I mean? A bit weird, mate. Thankfully, he basically shuts it down immediately when he's like, wait a minute, this is like a dead corpse and stuff. That's a bit weird. And I'm glad that, you know, he got his happy ending in this movie, but I would have liked to see him come back for the third one, even though it took bloody years for the third one, but just come back, man. Please. It would have been so much better than what we actually got with the third movie, which I will be reviewing at some point soon, so look out for that. But ultimately, this movie adds like a layer of dark humor that I think fans of the first movie will enjoy, and it's got some great moments, along with amazing practical effects that definitely bring it up a lot for me, just because the story and the movie itself are not the best, but the effects is what you really want with Reanimator. You want the gore, you want the violence, you want the weird, goofy-ass experiments. And yeah, ultimately, I give the movie like a 6 out of 10. It's really not the best, but it's nowhere near the worst, even in this franchise. Also, I won't be reviewing the Italian version because I cannot find it anywhere. If I'm somehow able to find it before I've put all of this together for my ranking video, I will include it and I will review it. But if not, then, oh well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel and like the video if, you know, you enjoyed. And until next time, bye-bye.